Buhay Online, Chikahan at Kaalamang Pangkabuhayan. Ating tunghayan, pakinggan at tuklasin ang mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa mundo ng online. Buhay Online, Chikahan at Kaalamang Pangkabuhayan. Alamin ang pinaka-latest trends mula sa trabaho at kung hanggang saan na ang narating ng teknolohiyang ito. At ngayon, narito na ang ating host, ang ating TechieMommy, si J.C. Bautista.
Hello, so sorry. Kanina, I already entered pero I had a little bit of a technical glitch, so I had to restart my computer. But anyway, magandang umaga po. Happy Thursday, everyone. Napakabilis naman ng oras at panahon, right? Thursday na naman. My goodness. July 8, right? Napakabilis ng time. Thank you so much for those who are here. Hindi ko na naman makita yung mga pangalan, but thank you for joining me. Tapos kasi yung sa laptop ko, naka-freeze yung aking frame. Dito lang ako tumitingin sa Facebook ko. But anyway, thank you very, very much for those who are viewing and joining me today dito sa Buhay Online. It's Thursday and we're still discussing distance learning and online education kasi nga maraming mga problemang kinakaharap ang ating pag-aaral ngayon. Ang education natin dito sa Pilipinas. More than a year after that and we're still no face-to-face classes, right? And ito yan, tinan nyo yung mga subject matter ngayon. Why Philippine schools remain closed a year into the pandemic? Of course, right? We are still closed as per the announcement. Hi there, Tita Agnes. Good morning. And yeah, we want to greet happy birthday to Presi Gulapa Maniago. Happy birthday today, Presi. Tsaka Tita, invited po tayo doon sa bahay nila Presi for lunch. Okay? May munting salo-salo daw sa birthday ni Presi. Hello to Tita Pri also. Tita Pri Maniago, mother-in-law ni Presi. Okay, thank you. At sa mga Maniago na nanonood ngayon, of course, the Lakaps are my forever supporters. Tita Heidi Lakap and Dax, thank you for watching. And of course, my Bautista family, there sa Manila, tsaka sa Australia, tsaka sa America. Right? And so we're still in the subject of distance learning, yung mga problemang kinakaharap. Di ba kasi in-announce nga ng DepEd na wala pa ring face-to-face education itong 2021 to 2022 na school year. Sad to say, hindi pinayagan kasi nga lumabas dumadami yung all over the world, nag-spread na yung Indian virus. Yung UK na una, virus, tapos ito na ngayon yung Indian variant, yung Delta, right? That is really very transmittable na mas mabilis, okay? Tapos kamustahin naman natin, no? Kasi kakatapos lang ng school year. Yung class of 2021 shares what it's like to graduate during a pandemic, okay? It's not that, itong mga nag-graduate nitong 2020 to 2021 school year, it's not just their employment after graduation that students are worried about, okay? Over a year into a health crisis that has so far killed over 3.8 million people all over the world and left millions jobless. Graduates begin another chapter of their lives with fear and worry, okay? May mga anxieties din yung mga graduates natin tong taon na to. Unang-una, syempre, kung anong trabaho ang kanilang makukuha nitong pandemya. Okay, we've heard a lot of news about millions of Filipinos or even people globally who've lost their jobs during the pandemic. And of course, anxiety to ng mga nag-graduate. Ano kayang trabaho ang kanilang makukuha? Or anong chances nila na maging employed nitong pandemic. But it's not just their employment after graduation that students worry about, okay? Itong sabi ni Cheska Vianedo, a senior high school graduate, I'm worried about stepping into a new environment without actually setting foot in that place. We're entering college without visiting our campus, and we will interact with people who we haven't actually met personally. Ito yung sa mga nag-aaral online na magka-college also. For the second time this year, face-to-face graduation is still not allowed. Okay? Philippine schools have stopped in-person classes for over a year now. forcing students and teachers to shift to remote learning, okay? The implementation of remote education, however, has been widely criticized as the country appeared not to be prepared for it. Yun na nga yung pinag-uusapan natin to for the past weeks. Talaga naman, we weren't prepared for it. Minadali, hilaw, lahat ng nangyari dyan last year. Naging experimental. Yun na nga, my own son included, yun sa Ateneo, na napakamahal ng tuition, tapos yung quality ng education na in-offer talagang was a little bit talaga, kulang, right? At saka hindi ready. The implementation of remote education was widely criticized. Okay? So, yan ang nangyari. Okay? Yung mga nag-graduate, talaga itong taon na to, they have those anxieties. Inisip nila anong mangyayari sa kanila after and in this pandemic. Okay? All right. So, the challenges of learning, distance learning, we've been mentioning that. Since quarantine protocol prohibited students from going to the field, the teachers decided to bring the field to the students instead, okay? Ito yung mga challenges ng distance learning na diniscuss natin, okay? Noong August 2020, when most learning institutions in the country shifted to full remote learning mode, okay? May mga teachers, no? Ito kanila, meron akong nabasa, okay, at na mga nag-gather na information, na some of the teachers, okay, met their class the first day of the school year. Kagaya, ang anak ko nga, pumasok pa siya ng January 2020. Pero nung remote learning na, itong isang teacher, ang storya niya, sabi niya, I met my class on the first day of the school year virtually through an online platform that everybody was still grappling with. At home, I was fortunate to have a spare room. Hindi pala ito, mag-aaral pala ito. But some of my virtual teacher nga ito, sorry. But some of my virtual students were not as lucky. One student in the province was forced to set up a makeshift desk outside their house to catch internet signal. Another could only avail of a bandwidth too narrow to stream video. Still, others could not attend at all. Yan ang hurdles talaga, no? Interconnectivity, poor internet, or no internet at all. Diba? Yan ang isa sa mga dilemma na nangyari nitong nag-remote learning tayo eh. Imperfect yung 2020. Talaga naman. Ironically coded 2020 for perfection. That year opened literally with a bang. The eruption of Taal volcano on January 12 last year, residents of communities around the volcano, and ngayon, nag-erupt na naman. Diba? Ano ba to? Diyos ko. You know, including Metro Manilans, okay? Residents of communities around the volcano, including mga Metro Manila, all numbering over 20 million, were advised to wear N95 rated face masks for protection against hazardous volcanic ash. At ngayon, umuulit na naman, right? Nagkaka-activity na naman dyan sa Taal. Please, Lord, spare us po. By early February last year, the first COVID-19 death outside China was reported in a Philippine hospital. And by mid-March, the people who were about to doff their face masks as the volcanic ash subsided were forced to don them again as the pandemic struck hard and lockdown was enforced due to spiking infections in the capital and surrounding cities. Establishments classified as non-essential closed, including schools, but education had to proceed, syempre naman. As the new virtual school year started by August last year, a powerful earthquake struck the island province of Masbate, damaging buildings, including schools. November saw the passage of 4 destructive typhoons in 2 weeks, a record of sorts, wreaking havoc mostly on the eastern seaboard, and one dropping record rains in Metro Manila. Even remote classes had to be suspended as power lines were down for an extended period. So, yun na nga, brown out. So, ang pag-aaral na-stop pa rin. As the semester came to a close last year, several of our students filed leaves of absence, my own son included, right? He sat out the first year of his second year college in Ateneo because nga of his bad experience ng intercession na in-offer ng Ateneo. Hindi siya natuwa the way that the lessons were being taught, if they were not even taught at all. It was all virtual. Even the teachers were not there. The materials were given to them to study on their own. Okay? So, yun na nga. A lot of students did not enroll for the first semester of 2020. Okay, nature parang a lot of students filed leaves of absences that they could no longer cope logistically and psychologically. Nature seemed not content with the Taal eruption and deadly typhoons. So Christmas Day was punctuated by a magnitude 6.3 tremor epicentered south of Batangas, searing the population anew. Okay. While navigating through this, after all, not so perfect year of 2020, our faculty the teachers were particularly wary of strategizing the delivery of our online classes, given that the courses that the schools offers are largely laboratory, yung mga sa mga medical field, and field work based. Teachers needed to devise ways to simulate field exercises and laboratory experiments. Since quarantine protocol prohibited students from going to the field, the teachers decided to bring the field to the students instead. Sabi nga nila nung panahon na yun, since we cannot bring our students to the field, we brought the field to them. Sabi nitong isang teacher, for my class, I brought my 4 young co-teachers to some 50 kilometers east of the metropolis to document geological formations for our students to remotely study. Documentation included gathering field data ourselves, an activity the students conducted on their own in normal times. They flew drones from the aerial perspective and measured structures on the ground, which were then recorded on video and annotated high-resolution photos. Okay? The product was an interactive virtual field notebook from where our students would perform exercises, process and interpret field data, and write a field report. At semester's end, the exercise did not produce the result expected of the students in normal mode, but at least the minimum competency was met. Okay? Tapos yun, ano pa itong mga struggles ng distance learning? Kahapon, na-mention ko na to, yung remote cheating, right? Our faculty quickly found ways to deliver lessons online through various means available over the web. Ito yung mga teachers, right? The universities enhanced its remote learning platforms to handle more complex procedures and larger demands. But designing exams was the one that was particularly tricky. Teachers had to contend with all sorts of scenarios, from internet connection difficulties to preventing students from engaging in remote cheating. Kasi nga, pwede mo i-google yung answer, pwede mong hanapin sa online, right? In a normal classroom setting, acts of cheating such as copying and the use of the age-old código can be easily caught by the proctor or the teacher. But there would be no way for a teacher to monitor a student taking an exam remotely in the secured confines of his bedroom, di ba? Mahirap talagang mahuli mag-cheat because unang-una, hindi mo na nga sila nakikita, right? Tsaka hindi mo naman nakikita kung ano-anong mga windows or tabs yung bukas sa computer or laptop niya, right? We have heard of some teachers requiring their students to live stream themselves while taking the exams, the way CCTVs would catch shoplifters sa mga tindahan. Pero yung mga critics were quick to point that such a procedure would only compound the already stressful environment ng online learners. Okay? Besides, it has been made clear to teachers to treat their students with utmost compassion. In effect, yung mga exam preparation and delivery became special skills of their own, requiring, for instance, formulating a question that is ungoogleable. Ayan ang mahirap. Paano ka gagawa ng mga katanungan na hindi mo mag-google? Halos lahat pwedeng i-google, di ba? Words, phrases, whatever. In the end, this setup seemed to favor the students as grades came out skewed towards higher marks. Okay? Tapos ano pa? Ano pang ano natin, okay? Hurdling ng mga challenges na ito. Paano natin hinaharap itong mga pagsubok na ito sa distance learning? The technical challenges of remote learning turned out to be more manageable than we expected na kinatatakutan natin, right? Ang mga estudyante at saka yung younger generation of teachers quickly adapted to the system. Pero yun na nga, yung mga old school teachers or yung mga hindi tech savvy had to be trained. Well, more than a year after, by now, up to par na siguro naman sila, right? Even if yung complaint ng anak ko nandun pa rin, but it's already better. The curriculum's better, the materials are better, the learning management system's better, okay? Siguro naman, it's been more than a year, okay? However, the psychological state and mental health of both students and teachers became more of a concern. Talaga, ang daming mga na-depress, ang daming nawalan ng pag-asa, ang daming napagod, kasi lalo na pati sa teachers and students alone kasi they couldn't cope with the technology. They couldn't cope with the transition. Okay? So mental health of both students and teachers became more of a concern, okay? Especially for those directly affected by infections and deaths. Talaga naman, may mga nawalan ng pamilya, may mga nawalan ng mga kaibigan because of COVID-19. This has, of course, created an emotional strain for both teacher and students. This hurdle had to be overcome. While virtual psychosocial consultation rooms became available, okay, mga chat rooms, right, virtual chat rooms, we endeavored to distress by creating our own virtual chat rooms. Kasi nga dati, sa mga eskwela, di ba, may guidance counselor ka nakakausap. But nowadays naman, yun na nga, yung guidance counselor ng mga eskwela, pwede kayong mag-Zoom, pwede kayong mag-Skype, you can still reach out to them. One such forum was Skit Misan, okay? Skits Misan, so named as a play on the word skits, okay? Skits Misan is SCHIST Misan. Okay, it's a play on word on skits, a type of rock that has undergone metamorphic change and chismisan. So, pinagsama yung bato tsaka chismis, kaya skitsmisan, where everybody is allowed to discuss anything but academics, okay? The pandemic greatly reduced family incomes, totoo, because a lot of people lost their jobs, okay? Resulting in financial difficulties for a lot of families and learners. Among many students and even some teachers, the need for financial assistance became more critical than ever. Diba? Kaya nagkaroon ng mga donation drives, mga ayuda. They were run to complement efforts by our universities to address these needs. For this purpose, our own homegrown the Unconformity Band produced, ayan nga, yung mga ibang eskwela, nag-produce sila ng mga concert just to raise funds, right? Virtual concert videos has been quite successful in raising significant sums of money thanks to generous donors and benefactors. Nagkaroon din ng mga concerts online, even yung mga artista or yung mga performers na nawala ng trabaho din dahil wala ng mga concerts. So, nagkaroon ng mga virtual concerts, okay? Yun din, virtual fundraisers. Okay. Over a year and a half, okay, like many others in the country, it's still, remote learning is still what we're doing. We're still in the remote learning mode or distance learning. We may be burdened heavily by the perennial problems of a developing country, aggravated by the perils of inevitable natural hazards and further worsened by the pandemic. But our resilient nature, okay, is letting us get through all this. Resilient ang Pinoy di ba? Nagbabounce back tayo from any calamity or any bad things that happened to us. Even another eruption from Taal a few days ago and the forthcoming typhoons cannot deter us from providing the much needed education na kailangan ng ating mga kabataan or mga estudyante. So by hook or by crook, gumagawa tayo ng paraan. Kasi hindi tayo papayag na hindi makapag-aral ng ating mga anak, right? Okay? So, ang DepEd daw, sabi, is preparing for better version of distance learning. Talaga, sinabi ko yan kahapon, di ba? I talked about that. Really, okay? So, they're preparing for better materials, better processes, right? Pero yun nga, we've been discussing kung ano yung mga problema na kinakaharap, right? So, excuse me. Di ba, pinag-usapan natin yung cheating, okay, cheating online kahapon, yung ginawang negosyo to ng mga ibang estudyante. Because, ang dami-daming requirements, online learning and modular learning, maraming requirements, masyado maraming activities. Right? I discussed, diba, kinuwento ko itong si Grace, alright? Grace is a sophomore psychology major. And she was interviewed by Rappler. Gumagawa siya ng mga assignment ng mga tao, ng mga school paper for people. Okay? Yan ang remote learning it breeds dishonesty sa gitna ng pandemya. Pero at the same time, wala kang magawa, right? Yan, kinento ko si Grace at si James, they both use social media to amplify their homework services. They even set up a Twitter account dedicated solely to engaging potential customers and students to give them jobs, okay? So na-amplify ng social media ang ganitong trabaho eh. A quick scan on Twitter using hashtag writing commissions, hashtag academic commissions, hashtag academic service, and hashtag essay commission shows that students advertising their services through different promotional graphics with corresponding prices. Diba? Kinuwento ko nga kahapon. For example, so 100 pesos, it can save a student from failing, diba? But the prices of the commission work, depende yan sa trabahong pinagagawa nyo or homework na pinapagawa nyo. Ito yung mga pricingan dyan kahapon. Essay tsaka reflection paper, 100 pesos per page. Learning module, 100 to 200 depending on the length o kadamihan or kahabaan ng homework. Slide presentation, 50 pesos per slide. Papagawa ka ng PowerPoint. Concept paper, 100 pesos. Video editing, 150 pesos. Yan nga. Si Grace said that she created a Twitter account for her business to reach more customers. This is also where she transacts with them. When a deal is made, she sends a Google form where a customer is asked to indicate the type of service needed. Tsaka yun na nga, hindi, yung mga nagpapagawa ng homework, hindi naman nila ginagamit yung totoo nilang identity eh. Nag-iiba sila. Parang si Grace din, hindi niya gamit personal account niya. Tsaka kasi yun, may social media account kayo eh. Hindi mo alam yung mga teacher nyo, mga kaklase nyo, makikita yun. So, nag-iiba sila ng identity. Okay? Si James naman din, gumagawa rin siya ng mga homework para sa tao. Grace and James said the grade levels of their customers vary from junior high school, senior high school, to college students. Okay? Pero hindi nga nila alam kung saan nag-aaral yung mga yun kasi iniiba na yung identity nila. Okay? So, overwhelming kasi ang academic overload. Kaya tuloy, some of the students resort to doing this, paying somebody to do their schoolwork. Okay? Itong ang Rappler, itong source ko, ang Rappler, was able to speak with a student who is one of Grace's customers. Okay? Si Kim, okay, case in point, is a senior high school student in a public school. She said that she asked Grace to do a reaction paper for her for a 3-hour video they were asked to critique. So si Kim said she paid Grace 300 for her work. So parang 100 pesos per hour. But she only did this because she didn't know what to do since her academic work was already overwhelming daw at napakadami na niyang activity. She didn't want to fail any of her subjects, so pinagawa na lang niya yung kanyang reaction paper. Dahil sobrang dami po ginagawa, like sunod-sunod po hindi na ma-handle na maayos. Yung submission date po kasi magkakalapit. So hindi na po namin alam ang ipaprioritize talaga, she added. Totoo naman yan like even whether it's public school or private school, like sa Ateneo nga rin yung kanilang homework, napakadami, kunyari, ang daming babasahin, ang daming gagawin, binibigyan sila ng gantong period of window to submit. I think there's too much activity going on na mahirap gawin online as opposed to pag personal, pwede ka kasi mag-confer with your teacher, pwede kang kausapin mo yung mga kaklase mo or ka-coordinate mo. But when you're left on your own to study, medyo mas mahirap, right? Okay? Sabi yan ni Kim, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, they all pile up, nag-iipon-ipon, and they can't handle them properly. Okay? The implementation of remote learning has been widely criticized as the country appears to be not fully prepared for distance education. This is evident in yung mga maling learning materials, yung kinuwento ko kahapon, yung tungkol sa aswang, na dinipict nila yung aswang as a sex predator, diba? Na na-publish yan dun mismo sa mga modules. Yun ang isa sa mga problema niyan, yung mga maling printed material. Bakit nga, diba? Ano bang nangyari doon sa mga editor, right? Okay? Teachers having difficulty coping with the new mode of teaching they were forced into. Okay? Sabi ni Dr. Joanne Refariel of the Philippine Psychiatric Association sa interview rin sa Rappler, sinabi niya in a previous interview that some of her student clients talked about feeling burnt out due to their overload. I think it's true because my own son, was telling me na nahihirapan siya. Sabi ko, paano ka mahihirapan? Unang-una, okay, you're a very smart guy, and are your other classmates also having a hard time learning online? And he said yes. And and he, I was wondering why. So because reading, what is hard? Sabi niya, it's really hard because parang for him, yung supervision yata ng teacher, wala masyado. Okay? They're left on their own. Okay? All right? So, Dr. John De Farrell said that some of her students talked about feeling burnt out during the workload niya. They struggle with the new system due to inadequate resources. The Department of Education or ang DepEd, sinabi nila earlier that in order na nila that teachers to prepare activities that are less burdensome, following reports of students experiencing distance learning burnout. Tapos, ano pang nangyayari? Dahil dito, yung mga estudyante, okay, mas mababa yung motivation to study. So, ang ginagawa nila, they just simply comply para pumasa, di ba? Pero natututo ba sila? Di ba? Are they learning at all? Recognizing that what they are doing has ethical implications. Sabi nitong si Grace na gumagawa ng mga homework para sa ibang tao for a living, Grace said she could not blame students who turned to her and others like her to get the work done. But what is clear to her is that education officials should revisit teaching strategies during this pandemic because students are resorting to this kind of work not to learn, but just to comply with their teachers' academic requirements. Ayun na nga eh. Sasubmit mo papasa parang, tsaka yun, parang pasang-awa na lang, hindi ka naman masyadong natuto, right? Ginawa mo lang yung requirements. I am hesitant about this because of the ethical implications. Maybe instead of focusing on academic dishonesty or cheating, okay, figure out why students resort to this in the first place. Itong sabi ni Grace, yung tagagawa ng mga assignment. Students are just complying with the requirements, not learning at all. Totoo, I think so too. In November last year, some senators urged DepEd to consider resuming face-to-face classes. But of course, now we know, right, that it is not happening, right? As of June 22 and the declaration of the DepEd, based on the directive of the president, no online education, no face-to-face learning pa rin itong school year incoming school year 2021-2022. Okay? Kasi nga, DepEd was concerned that students are unable to retain much from the current modes of remote learning, especially those unable to take online classes. The issue of whether students are actually learning in a remote setup is concerning, as recent global assessments show that Filipino students lag behind other countries, especially their Southeast Asian counterparts, in terms of academic performance. Uy, di ba nakakahiya? Ito, in connection to that, sige, kakwento ko na ito. The Philippines is lowest among 58 countries sa math, science, tsaka global assessment. Oh my gosh. Last year, nagkaroon ng the trends in international mathematics and science study in 2019 showed that the Philippines scored significantly lower than any other country that participated in grade 4 math and science assignments. Oh, how sad. Ano ba yan? Filipinos lag behind other countries in the International Assessment for Mathematics and Science for grade 4. The Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study in 2019 revealed that na ang mga Filipinos lag behind many countries sa math and science. Dati ang galing natin sa math, di ba? The Philippines only scored, 297 in mathematics and 249 in science, which are significantly lower than any other participating country. Oh my gosh. Nag-deteriorate ng ating education talaga. The country also scored the lowest among all 58 participating countries for both tests. Oh my gosh, how sad. Meanwhile, ang Singapore topped both assessments in grade 4 math and science. Ang atang score 625 to 595 respectively. It is also the highest scores for grade 8. It also has the highest scores for grade 8 in the same subjects of math and science. 616 sa math, 608 sa science. The Philippines only participated in the grade 4 assessment for this cycle. TIMSS is an assessment given to grades 4 and 8 students. TIMSS set 4 international benchmarks along a scale to determine students' competence. Advanced international benchmark, 625 ang score dapat. High international benchmark, 550. At intermediate international benchmark, 475. And low international benchmark, 400. Di pa tayo umabot dun, 200 plus lang tayo, okay? Oh my gosh. Sa math, only 19% of Filipino students were on the low benchmark, which means they had some basic mathematical knowledge, while 81% did not even reach this level. They can add, subtract, multiply, and divide 1 and 2-digit whole numbers. They can solve simple word problems. They have some knowledge of simple fractions and common geometric shapes, but students can read and complete simple bar graphs and tables. Ito ang lumabas na studies. Pero sa math yan, okay, 19%. As for science, 13% of Filipino students were also on the low benchmark, which means they had limited understanding of scientific concepts and limited knowledge of foundational science facts, while 87% did not even reach this level. Based in Boston College's Lynch School of Education and Human Development, the International Association for the Evaluation of Educational Achievement, or IEA, or TIMSS, conducts regular international comparative assessments of student achievements in math and science in more than 60 countries. And sad to say, plakda tayo doon. We failed, okay? So how do we recover and bounce back? In a statement on Thursday, December 10, last year, the DepEd said that it welcomes the 219 TIMSS results, saying that it values the immense data it can offer on literacy of students on math and science. Okay? Our standing policy is to translate these international assessments into concrete and implementable actions that can have a direct impact on our learners' achievements and teachers' improvements. So the DepEd also said, it will continue to reform and upgrade its education curriculum. Really now, of course, okay? Indeed, these are challenging times as we still confront the ongoing pandemic amid our efforts to attain quality education. But we can definitely recover and bounce back if we get our act together. Exactly, okay? Prior to this assessment, the Philippines ranked in the low 70s in the 2018 program, placing 79th in reading with an average of 340 against the 487 average. So yun, okay? So we hope to have a better ranking this time because improved na dapat ang ating educational system, learning management systems, and the platforms that we use for online learning or remote learning, okay? Okay, so still on the subject of talking about the hurdles of distance learning and what we are experiencing right now. Yun nga, di ba? Na-mention ko na to in the past na talaga naman a big brunt or a big part na naapektuhan itong distance learning is ang mga magulang. Because the parents bear the brunt of distance learning as classes shifted online. Okay? Ikukwento ko sa inyo naman itong mga case in point ng mga nanay nitong distance learning in the pandemic, okay? Kasi these mothers hope that things will get better in the next few days or months or years, okay? As students struggle with online learning, parents also struggle because they carry the burden that comes with it, okay? Itong case in point, si Trinky Cortez, okay, is a mother of 4. They are all enrolled this school year. Pero she's very, very sad by the new expenses para sa kanyang mga anak that they have to since they have to study from home. Unang-una, kailangan ng anak nila ng either cellphone or tablet or PC man lang to share. Ang trabaho ni Trinky Cortez ay laundry woman, while her husband is a security guard. And their pay is not enough to meet the requirements of distance learning. Ito ang sinabi niya sa interview sa Rappler last October. Nakakadagdag sa kuryente tapos magsishare pa ako ng bayad sa internet. Nakakadagdag sa hirap ng buhay namin. Ibibili mo na nga lang sana ng pagkain. ibibili mo muna ng project, nakakadagdag pa ang bayad sa internet. Mahirap talaga. Yeah, and this is true, right? No, tas marami pang nawala ng trabaho, right? Marami pang nawala ng trabaho, eh, paano sila bibili ng mga gadgets na kailangan ng sa pag-aaral, right? So it's really, really very hard. Okay? So, Cortez said that they only connect to the Wi-Fi of their neighbor. Ayun na nga. Kasi gumagawa ng paraan naman talaga yung mga magulang para magkaroon ng internet at para makapag-study online. Pero like I said, most of the parents opted to do modular modular learning. Yung ginagamit nga yung physical handouts or mga activity sheets na sinasagutan weekly. ang naging problema naman doon nga, kulang yung materials or mali-mali ibang module material. Anyway, sabi nga ni Cortez, nakiki-Wi-Fi lang siya sa neighbor and share the bill with them. While the internet bill is a problem, stability of the connection is an even bigger problem, right? Nawawala yung signal, baka akala ng mga teachers hindi sila present. Nahihirapan talaga sila. Yung bunso ko hindi marunong. Wala naman kung alam sa cellphone na yan, internet. Yun pa. Okay, while the biggest task and burden lies on the parent, lalo na kung hindi capable yung parent na magturo. Kasi nga, let's say, yung anak nila, kaya nga nila tinataguyod at pinapagkubang magtrabaho because hindi sila nakapagtapos. They don't want their children to suffer the same plight they did. So, pero nga, because of this modular education or home education or distance learning, nagkaroon ng added responsibility ng magulang na turuan yung anak or i-monitor yung studies nila. Pero paano nga kung hindi mo alam, hindi mo naiintindihan yung ginagawa nila because hindi ka knowledgeable doon. Right? Thus, pinopose at ginagawa na sometimes for students with special needs, yung mga teacher or guro, pumupunta rin sa bahay at least once a week to monitor the progress of their students. Pero yun na nga, ang kaakibat nun ay yung fear at anxiety na that you can catch the virus because you're going to the homes or even if yung modular nga, yung mga magulang tsaka teacher ay nagme-meet up once a week para tanggapin yung lessons tapos at isubmit yung completed activity sheets, di ba? So, on top of this, some students don't have anyone to guide their learning at home. Yan na nga. So, problema na yung internet, problema pa yung walang magtuturo. Kasi nga, itong isang case itong si Jeline Junio, who has 2 children enrolled. Okay? Nahihirapan ako kasi bilang isang ina na nagtatrabaho ako. Yun nga, the working parents. What if both parents are working? Sinong magpapastol sa mga anak nila at magtuturo sa bahay? Hindi ko po alam kung paano i-guide ang mga anak ko. Nagbabantay lang po sa kanila, yung lola nila, na hindi po marunong sa internet at sa social media. When you said, and even if modular din, kung hindi nakapagtapos, paano nga rin matuturuan, right? Yan ang sinabi niya talaga. Some parents have a hard time because they're working, right? Sinabi pa ni Junio that during the first day of online classes, her son asked her about his lesson in math. Number 1 agad sa math ay about sa algebra. Hindi ko po rin po alam kung paano turuan ng mga anak ko, kaya nawindang talaga kami. No? Because nga, yun na nga, parang ako rin, I hated math. So, kung magpapaturo ang anak ko ng math, paano ko tuturuan hindi ko inintindi yun. So, ayan, to help her children, Junior said that she would call them from work to answer the questions. Yung iba naman, na nakaka-afford ng konti, nag-hire ng tutor para sa anak nila online, para turuan, right? Ang nangyayari, itong si Junior, sa break time niya, tatawag siya sa mga anak niya para masagot yung mga katanungan at tulungan sa assignment nila or sa activity. Ang nangyayari, tumatawag ako sa kanila habang nasa work ako. Ganun na lang ang nagiging daily routine namin. Sabi niya, Cortez and Junio could only hope that things will get better in the days ahead. Kung papapiliin ako, mas maganda ang face-to-face. Pero syempre, sa ngayon, kasi hindi natin alam kung kailan matatapos ang pandemic. Okay? Of course, last October last year, over 24 million students in the country started classes again in the middle of the pandemic. Despite issues experienced by students, teachers, and parents, Education Secretary Leonor Brones said that the school opening was a success. Talaga. Following Rodrigo Duterte's directive for schools to delay face-to-face classes until the vaccine is out, well, the DepEd has shifted to distance learning. Pero yun na nga, lumabas na yung vaccine, na-vaccinate na most of the people in Manila, Metro Manila, NCR. Pero because of the emergence of the new variant of the virus, which is the Delta virus, the president opted not to have face-to-face classes, even in low-risk areas. Okay? So yun. All right? Sorry to say, okay? So, 'di ba? Yun pinag-usapan natin yung parang yung quality of education nag-suffer din. Tapos binanggit natin na yun tayo nag-rank low sa math at science all over the world. Baka tong online education at distance learning, lalong mag-deteriorate yung quality ng education. Pero yun nga ang ating tinatry iwasan or ibisan itong mga concerns na ito. Right? One other thing, okay? Well, sabi nila the Philippines is eyes better ranking in 2022 for the International Assessment Student Program. Okay? Kasi Education Secretary Leonor Brones hopes that the Philippines will improve its performance in the 2022 program for International Student Assessment after its dismal ranking in 2018 and 2019. Sabi ng, okay, ang DepEd announced that, okay, the Philippines will join the 2022 Program for International Student Assessment, where it aims to improve on its dismal past performance. Pero yun na nga dahil nagkaroon tayo ng distance learning, tsaka because of the pandemic, paano kaya magiging better yung mga pag-aaral ng estudyante? Because sasali tayo sa 2022 Program for International Student Assessment. PISA, okay, is a student assessment of 15-year-old learners across 79 countries done by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Okay? Sabi na naman ni Leonor Briones, and Education Secretary Leonor Briones, she hopes that the country will improve its performance in the 2022 PISA, the second time that the Philippines will join the International Student Assessment. Okay, we're not thinking of any specific rank at this time. What we are looking forward to is an improvement in the ranking of the Philippines. Ayun naman talaga. Kasi the Philippines ranked in the low 70s in the 2018 PISA, placing 79th in reading with an average of 340 against the average score of 487. Naman, Diyos ko, napakababa. Okay? Tapos nga, Filipinos also ranked low in math and science, with 353 points and 357 points respectively against the 489 standard. Kaya ano ba yan, Diyos ko? So, ngayon pa lang, preparations are being done for PISA 2022. In a virtual press briefing last Thursday, Education Undersecretary Nepomuceno Molaluan said that PISA 2021 was deferred upon the request of participating countries, including the Philippines. So, yun pala, wala tayong 2020, ano yung result nun? 2021 ang pinapa-defer. Our decision is to continue participating in PISA now that we have the 2018 PISA benchmark results. Recognizing the dismal performance of the country noong 2018 PISA, Education Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio said that DepEd is preparing to improve the performance of the country in the PISA 2022. Kasi nga, alam na natin na ang ating mga scores ay not so flattering. To prepare for the assessment, the DepEd said it created a technical working group for international large-scale assessments. DepEd will be conducting online training for teachers and student leaders, learning materials will be distributed, and practice tests will be administered. Malaluan said that participation in PISA is not a race to the top. The point really is the performance of the students, where our students are having difficulties and what are the levels of their leaderships, of what the levels of their leaderships are. Ito ang benchmark na tinitingnan natin dapat. Hindi so much yung tumaas ang rango, is to improve. Okay? Why does this matter? Due to the continuing coronavirus pandemic, schools in the country shifted to distance learning as we know it. a mix of online classes and printed learning modules following President Duterte's directive to suspend face-to-face classes under COVID. Okay? Yan ang nangyari. Under the distance learning system kasi, parents have an active role in guiding their children. Why? Tell me about it, okay? Through modular lessons, which pose a problem for students who do not have anyone to teach them, do not have anyone to ask help from. Okay? Nobody to guide them due to the lack of knowledge. Iba, dahil nga hindi nakapagtapos sa magulang, right? So, those are the hurdles that we have mentioned. Okay, the pandemic also has exposed the gaps in the Philippine education systems, evidence in the poor learning materials, the ones that we pointed out, pinaka-latest error yung sa aswang. Okay, ano pa? Painful grammar errors, wrong math equation, and modules depicting gender stereotypes alarmed the public as they expressed concerns over the quality of education at over 24 million students during the pandemic. All right? So, ayun. Wrong learning materials, whatever. Okay? So, sa remote learning, ayan ang mga naging problema at yan ang mga kinakaharapan nating problema. Okay? The issue of whether students are actually learning in a remote setup is napapag-usapan din. Okay? Natututo ba sila or yun na nga, ang motivation kulang. Kagaya ng iba, nagre-resort to cheating kasi gusto na lang nila mag-comply sa requirements ng mga activities pero hindi naman sila natututo kasi nga yung iba, yun, pinapagawa yung ibang sa assignment nila. Yung ibang magulang sila nang gumagawa ng assignment ng anak nila. So, yung pag-aaral, naapektuhan. Wala silang natutunan. Parang nung, parang nung ginawa ng Ateneo, pinasa ng mga estudyante nung second sem ng first year college ng anak ko. They just passed them all, gave them a P grade. But they didn't even learn. They didn't study. They didn't attend those classes. Tapos pinasa mo, anong klase yun, right? Okay, so the issue of whether students are learning in a remote setup is concerning, as recent global assessments show that Filipino students lag behind other countries, especially their Southeast Asian counterparts. Okay, for example, the first ever Southeast Asia Primary Learning Metrics, or CPLM, revealed that only 10% of Filipino grade 5 students met the minimum reading performance. Di ba? How sad, pati reading, nag-deteriorate na tayo. They ought to achieve at the end of primary school. So, the only 10% of the grade 5 students tested met the minimum reading performance they ought to achieve at the end of primary school. Meanwhile, an even lower 5% of Filipino students attain good writing skills. Oh my gosh. And just 17% of Filipino students attain minimum math competencies. Okay? Pakikita ko sa inyo yung graph. Ito, oh. Ayan. Oh, tingnan nyo. My goodness. Ang Pilipinas ay kulelat. Kulelat. As Vietnam, Malaysia led, Philippines lags behind. Oh, number 6. Mataas lang tayo sa Lao. At Myanmar, dinampasan pa tayo at Cambodia. Oh, di ba? So, supposedly, what? 90%, 95% literacy sa Pilipinas. So, nung araw, mayabang tayo sa ganyan, mga Marcos time. Ang talaga, ang literacy mataas. Tsaka mas magaling mag-English ang mga tao noon. Sabi ng tatay ko, my deceased father. Okay? So, going back, okay? Earlier this year, di ba, in-announce na nga na hindi babalik tayo sa face-to-face and we don't know when. Okay? Tapos pa, itong survey ng Rappler na to, they also found out not all schools in the country have the basic health facilities to even allow for a safe return of students to schools. Yun na nga, kakulangan ng facilities. Marami pa rin kulangan classroom. Hindi malinis yung mga banyo, hindi pa na-maintain. Hindi pa ready talaga rin namang bumalik sa eskwela ang mga estudyante kasi nga, because of the hurdles of the pandemic at saka yung mga nawalan ng trabaho, hindi na maintain yung mga ibang eskwela or hindi nagawa yung mga kailangan gawin. Okay? So yun na. of course, isa sa mga problema yung academic dishonesty. Kanwento ko na nga kahapon at napag-usapan ulit. Academic cheating, right? Is any type of cheating that happens in relation to a formal academic exercise. Okay? Sabi nitong isang guro, I am having a tug of war with my principals regarding the academic dishonesty I'm committing. Estudyante pala nagsabi nito. Many are paying someone else to do their homework because they are bombarded with activities, but I know this is not enough to justify what I'm doing. Oh, ayan. Ito yung sinabi ni James na gumagawa ng homework kagaya ni Grace. Silang dalawa, yung mga ginawa nilang negosyo yung paggagawa ng homework. Okay? So, dapat kasi i-address yung problema na huwag nilang tambakan ng estudyante ng mga gawaing, okay, at gawing mas practical ang assessment nila para hindi mag-cheat yung mga estudyante, right? So, that's true. Why not address the problem of students' workload piling up instead of making assessment more practical so that they won't resort to cheating, okay? So, I guess its pervasiveness, okay, calls the design of alternative learning. Kailangan talagang i-redesign pa, i-redefine, o i-examine itong ating distance learning procedures tsaka materials. With this, on this note, okay, syempre, no, how much can we teach? How heavy should the requirements be? Ayan ang dapat ng mga pag-isipan ng mga teachers. How exactly do we ensure quality? These are 3 questions for the system. Tomorrow, we will talk more about that. What can be done to improve the learning materials, the learning operations, or learning methods, and the learning management systems. Dapat natin yan pag-usapan pa more tomorrow. See, napakahaba nitong issue about distance learning. Alright? At kala ko matatapos na today, pero patuloy pa rin natin yung gagawin bukas. Okay? Thank you so much for those people who joined me today. Happy birthday ulit kay Presi Maniago. Gulapa Maniago, happy birthday to you, Presi. Looking forward to your handa, itong lunch. Ayan ang aming lunch today. Maraming salamat for those who watched today. Hindi ko nakita yung mga pangalan. Si Tita Agnes lang yung umakyat. Pero yung number of people, nakikita ko. Maraming salamat. Hello, Tita Agnes. Hello, Tita Heidi. I'll see you soon, Tita Heidi. I know you're coming over to pick us up. Maraming salamat. And happy Thursday to you guys. And I hope you tune in tomorrow. See you tomorrow po. Friday, Monday to Friday po ako nagbo-broadcast dito sa Broad Streamcast Communicators. And of course, right after our live stream programming here sa Facebook, we are quickly migrated to YouTube, okay? Where you can watch past episodes. Pwede nyo balikan yung mga episodes na na-miss nyo, or pwede rin i-review yung mga episodes na gusto nyong i-review. Just go to YouTube. Broad Streamcast Communicators channel on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and spread the word. Tulungan niyo po kaming makatulong pa sa mas maraming tao sa aming mga information na binibigay at mga aralin na aming sinishare. Okay? And information that we share. Thank you so much. And of course, please feel free to answer, to field in questions either through my Facebook Messenger, my Messenger, or of course here at Broad Streamcast Communicators. We will answer as best as we can. Maraming salamat po again for joining me. And of course, as I always say every day, all the time, wag tayo pong mawawalan ng pag-asa because in the end, 3 things remain in our lives, okay? Our faith, okay, na ang pananampalataya natin, our hope, at the pag-asa that there's always going to be a brighter day the next day, and we thank God when we wake up to a new day, and of course, love for everyone. Pagmamahal sa ating kapwa-tao, na itong pandemya na ito, na foster po itong being united, okay, for one cause, and that is of course para ipuksa itong pandemic na ito. We're all in this together. At meron pa po tayong pag-asa, at meron pa po tayong dapat faith that things will get better. Thank you so much for joining me, and see you again tomorrow. Same time, same place, which is Broad Streamcast Communicators. Maraming salamat po, and happy Thursday to you, and enjoy the rest of your day po. Thank you, and have a good lunch.
Inyong natunghayan at napakinggan ang mga makabagong pamamaraan sa mundo ng online sa pamamagitan pa rin ng Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat po.